Alright, folks. So, in this episode, I'm gonna continue my read along of the Manifesto of the Communist Party, and I begin at part 17 of the draft of the Communist Confession of Faith. I don't even know what. It's like saying, how true are you gonna stay to your cause? Ha! Will it be possible for private property to be abolished at once? Look at this fucking question. Will it be possible for private property to be abolished at one stroke? Can we eradicate it immediately, says the man. What a wise human being. No more than existing forces of production can at one stroke be multiplied to the extent necessary for the creation of a communal society. In all probability, the proletarian revolution will transform existing society gradually and will be able to abolish private property only when the means of production are available in sufficient quantity. Yeah, which is like never. Never ever. You whore. What will be the course of this revolution? Above all, it will establish a democratic constitution. Well, look at that. A democratic constitution with communist party, communist regime. Ha, ha. And through this, the direct or indirect dominance of the proletariat. Direct in England, where the proletarians are already a majority of the people. Indirect in France and Germany, where the majority of the people consists not only of proletarians, but also of small peasants and petty bourgeoisie, who are in the process of falling into the proletariat, who are more and more dependent in their political interests on the proletariat, and who must therefore soon adapt to the demands of the proletariat. Perhaps this will cause a second struggle, but the outcome can only be the victory of the proletariat. Democracy would be wholly valueless to the proletariat if it were not immediately used as a means for putting through measures directed against private property and ensuring the livelihood of the proletariat. The main measures emerging as a necessary result of existing relations are the following. Limitation of private property through progressive taxation, heavy inheritance taxes, abolition of inheritance through collateral lines, brothers or nephews, forced loans, etc. Give me all your money! Gradual expropriation of landowners, industrialists, railroad magnates, and ship owners, partly through competition by state industry, partly directly through compensation in the form of bonds. Confiscation of the possession of all immigrants and rebels against the majority of the people. Oh man. This is borderline racist. What the fuck? Confiscation of the possessions of all immigrants and rebels. Well, I mean, it's not really racist. He means to do this to everyone. So, it doesn't have to do with immigrants from other countries. Oh my god. Organization of labor or employment of proletarians on publicly owned land, in factories and workshops, with competition among the workers being abolished, and with the factory owners, insofar as they still exist, being obliged to pay the same high wages as those paid by the state. How exactly are you gonna do that, sir? Kill them all. An equal obligation on all members of society to work until such time as private property has been completely abolished. Formation of industrial armies, especially for agriculture. Now this is funny, because you see in Albania there was industrial armies for like 50 fucking years, right? And the idea is that people were not treated more than, I don't know, your very average common slave. So this has worked out just horrifically. Centralization of money and credit in the hands of the state. Look. Who the hell even says that communism is even remotely positive? Fuck, man, how stupid must you be? Or ignorant? I don't know, stupid maybe. I don't know, I don't get it. Maybe, I don't know. Centralization of money and credit in the hands of the state through a national bank with state capital and the suppression of all private banks and bankers. Everything must go to the state. Increase in the number of national factories, workshops, railroads, ships, bringing new lands into cultivation and improvement of land already under cultivation, all in proportion to the growth of the capital and labor force at the disposal of the nation. Education of all children. Alright, go fuck yourself. Construction on public lands. This is actually a good point. Wait, let me not escape it. I think I've read it before. That's why I let go. Education of all children from the moment they can leave their mother's care in national establishment and national costs. Education and production together. Together. Construction on public lands of great palaces as communal dwellings for associated group of citizens engaged in both industry and agriculture, and combining in their way of life the advantages of urban and rural conditions while avoiding the one-sidedness and drawbacks of each. Destruction of all unhealthy and jerry-built dwellings in urban districts. See, you read this 10th point and you understand the obvious thing, but if you see this with the eye of implementing communism, you understand that destruction of all unhealthy and jerry-built dwellings is like everything. Factories, homes, shops, I don't know, everything. So destruction of these is actually destruction of everything, and let the state build. Ha! These people. Equal inheritance right for children born in and out of wedlock. Which is none, right? Because he was gonna remove them. I don't know, I read it somewhere here. Abolition of inheritance through collateral lines, brothers, nephews, etc. Now he says, equal inheritance rights for children born in and out of wedlock, which is none. Concentration of all means of transportation in the hands of the nation. Give the nation everything. It is impossible, of course, to carry out all these measures at once. Well, you just put Stalin in head of the country and you will see how they will be carried out perfectly. But one will always bring others in its way. Once the first radical attack on private property has been launched, the proletariat will find itself forced to go even further, to concentrate increasingly in the hands of the state all capital, all agriculture, all transport, all trade. All the foregoing measures are directed to this end, and they will become practicable and feasible, capable of producing their centralizing effects to precisely the degree that the proletariat, through its labor, multiplies the country's productive forces. Alright, let's reread this again because I got lost. All the foregoing measures are directed to this end, and they will become practicable and feasible, capable of producing their centralizing effects to precisely the degree that all the foregoing measures are directed to this end, and they will become practicable and feasible, capable of producing their centralizing effects to precisely the degree that the proletariat, through its labor, multiplies the country's productive forces. Finally, when all capital, all production, all exchange have been brought together in the hands of the nation, private property will disappear of its own accord, money will become superfluous, and production will so expand and men so change that society will be able to slow off whatever of its old economic habits may remain. This here means that golden glory will be achieved through implementing communism. Oh my god. The pits of hell will open up. Yeah, fucking cunt. Have you heard like a North British guy swear? You cunt, which is translated for you can't. C-U-N-T, cunt, whore, pussy, bitch. Will it be possible for this revolution to take place in one country alone? No. No. By creating the world market, big industry has already brought all the peoples of the earth, and especially the civilized people, into such close relations with one another that none is independent of what happens to the others. Further, it has coordinated the social development of the civilized countries to such an extent that in all of them bourgeoisie and proletariat have become the decisive classes, and the struggles between them the great struggle of the day. Okay. I mean, you say so. I've never said that the whole history of the world was class struggles. You said that. It follows that the communist revolution will not merely be a national phenomenon, but must take place simultaneously in all civilized countries. That is to say, at least in England, America, France, and Germany. At least in these countries. Take Germany. Well, you didn't even take Germany. Take Russia. England didn't do it. France, not as far as I remember. America, absolutely fucking not. So die, bitch. Well, you had Russia. Many psychopaths in Russia, I suppose. Many vile creatures there. Huge desperation. Communism, the victory, the solution to everything. Genocide. Oh man. Alright, let's go. It will develop in each of these countries more or less rapidly, according as one country or the other has a more developed industry, greater wealth, a more significant mass of productive forces. Hence it will go slowest and will meet most obstacles in Germany, most rapidly and with the fewest difficulties in England. It will have a powerful impact on the other countries of the world, and will radically alter the course of development which they have followed up to now, while greatly stepping up its pace. Yeah, it will bring everything to doom. It is a universal revolution and will accordingly have a universal range. It most certainly is great in size, but is most horrific in quality. Lots of people think that lots of people thought, or maybe lots of people were desperate. This is the only explanation I have. It's like the ignorance is so great, but also the perspective on life is so low that they think that this guy is actually explaining a good idea. It's like a I don't know, it's like an idea that will show ultimate progress, that if everybody did what he said, this would be like the greatest world possible. Yet nothing that he says with where was that one with schools? Everything that I've read, with the exception of the fact that children should go at schools, everything else that I've read is like, I don't know, horrific. Because by definition, everything that is based in this guy's elaboration is based on, I don't know, on atrocities. Human enslavement. It's I really don't know how to phrase it. It's something that is so wrong that it really makes you think whether the guy didn't know what he was saying. He must have, I don't know, I really don't know. Is the man delusional, or is this on purpose? Did he and many others just get together and make a plan to destroy the world? I don't get it, man. I don't understand. But something that is this wrong and vile is very hard to come by. Completely ignorant, completely wrong. I don't fucking get it, man. And this stuff became real after his death, I think. I don't really remember, but it became true. It started getting implemented in Russia after he was dead, which is super weird. This is like a perfect structure for all psychopaths to follow if they meant to destroy the world. Just implement communism. That's it. You've done it. This is dictatorship by definition. Everything should go in the hands of the state. So what? What the fuck is wrong with you? Everything should go. What is the state? Aren't they people? The state should have everything. Well, as it turns out, they really shouldn't. But anyhow, what will be the consequences of the ultimate disappearance of private property? Genocide. Society will take all forces of production and means of commerce, as well as the exchange and distribution of products, out of the hands of private capitalists, and will manage them in accordance with a plan based on the availability of resources and the needs of the whole society. In this way, most important of all, the evil consequences which are now associated with the conduct of big industry will be abolished. There will be no more crisis. The expanded production, which for the present order of society is overproduction and hence a prevailing cause of misery, will be insufficient and in need of being expanded much further. Instead of generating misery, overproduction will reach beyond the elementary requirements of society to assure the satisfaction of the needs of all. It will create new needs and at the same time the means of satisfying them. It will become the condition of and the stimulus to new progress, which will no longer throw the whole social order into confusion, as progress has always done in the past. Big industry, freed from the pressure of private property, will undergo such an expansion that what we now see will seem as petty in comparison as manufacture seems when put beside the big industry of our own day. This development of industry will make available to society a sufficient mass of products to satisfy the needs of everyone. I don't understand the insult. Well, what is he trying to say? What is wrong here? The development of industry will make available to society a sufficient mass of products to satisfy the needs of everyone. Maybe I didn't read it well. The same will be true of agriculture, which also suffers from the pressure of private property and is held back by the division of privately owned land into small parcels. Here, existing improvements in scientific procedures will be put into practice, with a resulting leap forward which will assure to society all the products it needs. Yeah, of course. Build the gulags, motherfucker. In this way, such an abundance of goods will be able to satisfy the needs of all its members. The division of society into different, mutually hostile classes will then become unnecessary. Indeed, it will be not only unnecessary but intolerable in the new social order. The existence of classes originated in the division of labor, and the division of labor as it has been known up to the present, will completely disappear. For mechanical and chemical processes are not enough to bring industrial and agricultural production up to the level we have described. The capacities of the men who make use of these processes must undergo a corresponding development. Just as the peasants and manufacturing workers of the last century changed their whole way of life and became quite different people when they were drawn into big industry, in the same way communal control over production by society as a whole and the resulting new development will both require an entirely different kind of human material. People will no longer be as they are today, subordinated to a single branch of production, bound to it, exploited by it. They will no longer develop one of their faculties at the expense of all others. They will no longer know only one branch or one branch of a single branch of production as a whole. Even industry as it is today is finding such people less and less useful. Industry controlled by society as a whole and operated according to a plan presupposes well-rounded human beings, their faculties developed in balanced fashion, able to see the system of production in its entirety. Alright. The form of the division labor... so hard to read. The form of the division of labor, which makes one a peasant, another cobbler, a third a factory worker, a fourth a stock market operator, has already been undermined by machinery and will completely disappear. Education will enable young people quickly to familiarize themselves with the whole system of production and to pass from one branch of production to another in response to the needs of society or their own inclinations. It will therefore free them from the one-sided character which the present-day division of labor impresses upon every individual. Communist society will in this way make it possible for its members to put their comprehensive developed faculties to full use. But when this happens, classes will necessarily disappear. It follows that society organized on a communist basis is incompatible with the existence of classes on the one hand, and that the very building of such a society provides the means of abolishing class differences on the other. A corollary of this is that the difference between city and country is destined to disappear. The management of agriculture and the industry by the same people rather than by two different classes of people is, if only for purely material reasons, a necessary condition of communist association. I just really like the fact that this guy thinks that he has people on his side. That's really, really, that's quite something. The dispersal of the agricultural population on the land, alongside the crowding of the industrial population into the great cities, is a condition which corresponds to an undeveloped state of both agriculture and industry and can already be felt as an obstacle to further development. The general cooperation of all members of society for the purpose of planned exploitation of the forces of production, the expansion of production to the point where it will satisfy the needs of all, the abolition of a situation in which the needs of some are satisfied at the expense of the needs of others, the complete liquidation of classes and their conflicts, the rounded development, these are the main consequences of the abolition of private property. Yeah, sure. Nothing else but degeneration. What will be the influence of communist society on the family? It will transform the relation between the sexes into a purely private matter, which concerns only the persons involved and into which society has no occasion to intervene. It can do this since it does away with private property and educates children on a communal basis, and in this way removes the two bases of traditional marriage: the dependence rooted in private property of the woman and of the woman on the man, and of the children on the parents. What? Yeah, well, in the I actually don't know what he means. Why would I even object? What the hell is he talking about? The two bases of traditional marriage are the dependence rooted in private property of the woman on the man and of the children on the parents. But who the fuck is gonna raise the children? What? He removes the base? What is happening, man? And here is the answer to the outcry of the highly moral Philistines against the community of women. Community of women is a condition which belongs entirely to bourgeoisie society and which today finds its complete expression in prostitution. But prostitution is based on private property and falls with it. Thus, communist society, instead of introducing community of women, in fact abolishes it. Hey, he's gonna abolish prostitution. Alright. I'm not really sure if that's a great idea though. You think about how much usage porn has. You just think about it for a second. It's like you remove prostitution, you remove porn. I don't know what's gonna go, man. I don't know what's gonna happen. But still, it's a good idea. It's like a morally just idea. Whew. What will be the attitude of communism to existing nationalities? The nationalities of the people associating themselves in accordance with the principle of community will be compelled to mingle with each other as a result of this association and thereby to dissolve themselves, just as the various estate and class distinction must disappear through the abolition of their basis, private property. I think I just read a very dark sentence, so I'm gonna reread. What will be the attitude of communism to existing nationalities? The nationalities of the people associating themselves in accordance with the principle of community will be compelled to mingle with each other as a result of this association, and thereby to dissolve themselves, just as the various estate and class distinction must disappear through the abolition of their basis, private property. So all of the people should completely remove private property. This is what the fuck he's saying. Alright, no, I read it. What happened? No. I read a different thing. I read the. But still, it's pretty bad, though, you understand, but I read it differently. What will be its attitude to existing religions? None, of course. There can be no religions. All religions so far have been the expression of historical ages of development of individual people or groups of people. But communism is a stage of historical development which makes all existing religions superfluous and brings about their disappearance. Look at this shit, man. He's I, it's not even, I don't know, it's not even It's not even proud at this point. All religions so far have been the expression of historical stages of development of individual people or groups of people. So, okay, then, are there no rules, or are there no guidelines in any religious book ever which actually lead people to a good life? Does that not exist? Because if it does, then it's not this the definition of all religions. And communism is definitely not the one to make all existing religions superfluous. You may wish to bring about their disappearance. It's like this is very common to the Christian conquistadores, man. I remember from reading history about the Vikings, the Norse mythology. It's like when the Christian conquered those lands, they also destroyed the mythology. It's like, why would you do that? If you mean to lead these people, if you mean to, of course, not lead, because nobody leads at that point, but if you mean to rule them, don't you think it would be better if they kept their culture? Why the hell would you do that? And there's so much information that is lost there. But it's very similar to what this guy is saying. Their religion is of course wrong, but we are greater, and we will bring their disappearance. What is their religion? Not only 1,000 years of super hard work, of trying to figure out how life works. And I'm saying 1,000, it's probably more. Man, oh man, it's difficult not to get angry at this stuff. I really wish that atheists aren't or at least that atheism isn't born out of these ideas. I really wish that. I've met at least seen videos or read about some smart atheists, but usually what they do is they go against the magical proportion of religion, the magical property of religion. This is what they usually do. But in the process of doing this, they also forget that religion must have, all religions have a moral implementation. So whenever you delete religion, you also delete people's ability to manage their sentiment and what is a good life. You completely take that out of the picture. So there are some atheists that make good points, very good points, and I like them because I like reason. I don't really judge the so to say battlefield based on theism or atheism. I don't really understand very much what those two mean, but just based on reason, what one says or the other. Usually the atheists are logical, but they have limited information. So they see the things which are mistaken, they see the things which are impossible to be, but they don't see the things which have to be. And they completely miss that part. I don't know how, I don't know why, but they do. Reactionary socialists. The first category consists of adherents of feudal and patriarchal society which has already been destroyed and is still daily being destroyed by big industry and world trade and their creation, bourgeoisie society. This category concludes from the evils of existing society that feudal and patriarchal society must be restored because it was free of such evils. In one way or another, all their proposals are directed to this end. This category of reactionary socialists, for all their seemingly partisanship and their scalding tears for the misery of the proletariat, is nevertheless energetically opposed by the communists for the following reasons. The communists go against the reactionary socialists. Democratic socialist. National Socialist Democrat Party, the Nazis. Soon enough, motherfucker, soon enough. Alright. It strives for something which is entirely. Talk to the hand, bitch. Talk to the mirror. You're talking to the mirror. Is that an expression? I don't really know. It seeks to establish the rule of the aristocracy, guildmasters, small producers, and their retinue of absolute or feudal monarchs, officials, soldiers, and priests. A society which was, to be sure, free of the evils of present-day society, but which brought it at least as many evils without even offering to the oppressed workers the prospect of liberation through a communist revolution. They are weaker than us. We mean to kill everyone. They failed. As soon as the proletariat becomes revolutionary and communist, these reactionary socialists show their true colors by immediately making common cause with the bourgeoisie against the proletarians. Alright, 2 more pages. Man, this guy annoys me. Annoys the living shit out of me. Boy oh boy. Alright, let's continue. Bourgeoisie socialist. The second category consists of adherents of present-day society who have been frightened for its future by the evils to which it necessarily gives rise. Whoa, what a sentence. Let's reread just for fun. The second category consists of adherents of present-day society who have been frightened for its future by the evils to which it necessarily gives rise. What they want, therefore, is to maintain this society while getting rid of the evils which are an inherent part of it. Are they really, you horrid cunt? To this end, some propose mere welfare measures, while others come forward with grandiose systems of reform, which, under the pretense of reorganizing society, are in fact intended to preserve the foundations and hence the life of existing society. Communists must unremittingly struggle against these bourgeoisie socialists because they work for the enemies of the communists and protect the society which communists aim to overthrow. Man, that's deep. This doesn't seem really bad though. Some propose welfare measures, while others come forward with grandiose ideas, are in fact intended to preserve the foundations. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you preserve? Very weird shit. But of course he's opposed to it, so there's that. Finally, the third category consists of democratic socialists who favor some of the same measures the communists advocate, as described in question 18. Not as part of the transition to communism, however, but as measures which they believe will be sufficient to abolish this misery and evil of present-day society. These democratic socialists are either proletarians who are not yet sufficiently clear about the conditions of the liberation of their class, or they are representatives of the petty bourgeoisie, a class which, prior to the achievement of democracy and the socialist measures to which it gives rise, has many interests in common with the proletariat. It follows that, in moments of action, the communists will have to come to an understanding with these democratic socialists, and in general to follow, as far as possible, a common policy with them, provided that these socialists do not enter into the service of the ruling bourgeoisie and attack the communists. It is clear that this form of cooperation in action does not exclude the discussion of differences. What is the attitude of the communists to the other political parties of our time? The attitude is different in different countries. In England, France, Belgium, where the bourgeoisie rules, the communists still have a common interest with the various democratic parties. An interest which is all the greater the more closely the socialistic measures they champion approach the aims of the communists. That is, the more clearly and definitely they represent the interests of the proletariat and more they depend on the proletariat for support. In England, for example, the working class Chartists are definitely closer to the communists than the democratic petty bourgeoisie and the so-called radicals. In America, where a democratic constitution has already been established, the communists must make the common cause with the party which will turn this constitution against the bourgeoisie and use it in the interest of the proletariat, that is, with the agrarian national reformers. Yeah, well, that really didn't work, did it? In Switzerland, the radicals, through a very mixed party, are the only group with which the communists can cooperate, and amongst these radicals, the Vaudis and the Genevese, the Vaudoux and Genevese are the most advanced. In Germany, finally, the decisive struggle now on the order of the day is that between the bourgeoisie and the absolute... What? In Germany, finally, the decisive struggle now on the order of the day is that between the bourgeoisie and absolute monarchy. Of course, bourgeoisie is worse, so... Since the communists cannot enter upon the decisive struggle between themselves and the bourgeoisie until the bourgeoisie is in power, it follows that it is in the interest of the communists to help the bourgeoisie to power as soon as possible in order the sooner to be able to overthrow it. You can't really overthrow absolute monarchy, can you? Against the governments, therefore, the communists must continually support the radical liberal party, taking care to avoid the self-deceptions of the bourgeoisie and not fall for the enticing promises of benefits which a victory for the bourgeoisie would allegedly bring to the proletariat. The sole advantages which the proletariat would derive from a bourgeoisie victory would consist: 1. In various concessions which would facilitate the unification of the proletariat into a closely knit, battle-worthy and organized class, and 2. In the certainty that on the very day of the absolute monarchy's fall, the struggle between bourgeoisie and proletariat will start. From that day on, the policy of the communists will be the same as it is now in countries where the bourgeoisie is already in power. Workers of all countries, die! Alright, I'll leave it here. Page 56. Oh my god, I hope you guys weren't frustrated from reading this shit. This is pure nonsense, completely evil to its core and implementation and every possible perspective that you can see it. I hate it profoundly, and I also wish you a nice day. Bye bye.